Hey guys, welcome back to Semojo Homestead. I'm Cassandra, everyone calls me Cass, and this is Jeremy. And today we are going to give you an updated garden tour.
Yeah, and honestly guys, this is a garden tour to show you how pathetic our garden's doing. It's not that bad.
It's not that
It's
bad.
really not that bad. It is disappointing overall.
Yeah.
There's some good things, but it is disappointing. I even debated not even doing it.
Yeah.
But our whole thing is we're going to show you our garden throughout the year, regardless of what it looks like. And so here it is in its all natural, wild, not so successful form.
So today we have been doing a lot of weeding. Now, if you've been following us, you know Josiah made the all-star team. Baseball went way into the summer, and then we went and saw John graduate. So things have been a little crazy and honestly just ignored in the garden. So that's a huge part of our problem. Jeremy did get a lot of this area weeded today, which is nice. So now we're really just in cleanup mode. So behind me right here, we have our second planting of corn. This is actually a sweet corn. Josiah had already had his glass gem corn growing, and we didn't want them to cross-pollinate. So those are going to be done soon-ish. In this corn, we also have a volunteer pumpkin. We harvested one pumpkin off of it already. I honestly haven't been back there to check it, so I'll probably check it tomorrow, see how it's doing.
So one of the things that is a success so far is the green stalk. This is the one that I planted with the annuals, different flowers. There's portulaca in here, and it's called ping pong, purple ping pong. But then also mixed in the peppers, which up top are the shishito peppers, which can be a little bit spicy. But the rest of these are like your mini sweet peppers, lunchbox style. None of these have started producing yet, but the shishitos, as you can see, are really pushing out that first flush of peppers. So definitely pleased and happy with the green stalk. The other thing that I would say is hopefully turning into a success would be the corn, Josiah's corn. So this is the glass gem corn that we were talking about. It is starting to produce. It looks like we got decent pollination on most of these. One thing that it is starting to do, which when we tried corn the first year, we had a big problem with this. Some people would not call it a problem, but you get like this fungus that starts growing on them when you get a lot of rain and moisture gets on them. It's actually called corn smut, and apparently it's a delicacy in some cultures. We weren't brave enough to try it. It looks really, really gross, especially the more it grows. It doesn't necessarily ruin the corn, but it does kind of have an odd appearance on the corn.
So in these two raised beds next to me, we had, I had planted Sea Island red beans. They didn't come up, so I planted them again, and we've had a successful planting. It looks like we have several plants growing, and these beans we will let dry and we'll harvest them, and you get a small red bean from them. In the bed behind me, Jeremy actually put some pond mud from cleaning out the pond in this and top dressed this raised bed with it, and the squash that we had planted in here. We did a second planting of squash because here in South Carolina we have a long growing season, and after those first crops kind of die out, we can go ahead and do a second planting. In this bed we have spaghetti squash, so I'm really hoping we get lots for Selah, but they seem to really be loving the pond muck.
All right, so as we move into the garden, we have our first one in the garden, but also the first one we've grown, ground cherry. And I tried one last year and I love these things. So I was so glad. These are all volunteer. All of them that we have been volunteered, came in with the compost, but I was very, very happy about that. The cucumbers continue to do really, really well. Definitely love this method that we did this year, and they are still producing extremely heavy. Leaf-footed bugs. But they are a little more bitter now because of the heat, but we're just using all of the ones we're harvesting for pickling. So that kind of disguises that bitterness a little bit. There are some people in our family that do eat them, but me personally, I pass on them this time of year. The other thing that is coming along are the melons that we planted. They are needing to be weeded, but I'm afraid to weed them because I'm afraid we'll disturb it too much. But high hopes for those. They're still a little bit young, but the flowers are coming on strong, so we shall see.
So on this side of the garden, we have a lot of peppers, tomatoes, and some beans, some bush beans. We weeded this area pretty heavily from the zinnias because as beautiful as the zinnias were, and as much as I loved them and hate to see them go, they were preventing our food from growing. And obviously, food is the first priority in this garden. So some things I wanted to highlight. I just saw this for the first time like 2 seconds ago, but we have our first chocolate jalapeno, which I'm super excited about. And our tomato seems to be growing fairly well. Now that the zinnias have been cleared out and they're getting a lot of sun, they're growing really, really well. So as we kind of move through this section, we have several basil plants that I'm going to need to cut and harvest. The thing I love to do with this basil is let it grow kind of large, cut it down, and make a bunch of pesto to freeze. We use it a lot during the school year for a quick, easy dinner. So over here we have another fun pepper. This is a black cayenne pepper, and I'm really excited to try these. These are some new peppers. These are new peppers that we've never grown before. So I'm excited to see how their flavor compares to a regular cayenne pepper. The next row over has another fun pepper that we grew this year. And it is the Mexibel. Is that right? Yep, Mexibel. And so these are just they turn into a little red pepper. That is a nice spicy pepper that we can add to our seasoning blends and to our hot sauce that we make. I did just see this one. I have not really had a chance to look through here. Look how fun this pepper is. That is like, the gnats are driving me crazy. But this is a fun shaped one. I don't even remember what this one is, but I'm sure it's a hot pepper. So across from our peppers, we have some tomatoes that are growing. Now, one thing that's been disappointing for us this year, well, actually today, I literally found it today, is that we are having some tomato fruit worms eating our tomatoes from the inside out.
All right, so as we enter into the spiral and I step over some of these zinnias that are falling, we really cleaned out the spiral because most of the stuff was done from the summer heat. So what we did is just put in our second planting of squash throughout the spiral. But this guy right here, guys, can you see this? This zucchini is the one that we always refer to as like the zucchini on steroids. It is still going super, super strong. But right at the end of it is one of the little squash that we planted, and it's coming up. They're looking really, really good. I am very hopeful for those because we're kind of out of the squash borer season right now. And so I think that all of the ones that are coming up that we planted should yield really, really well. They'll also start producing as our temperatures start to kind of level out. We have been super, super hot here, so it has really put a strain on the garden. The other thing that I'm excited about is the volunteer peanut plant that we just kind of let go. It has flowers, which is a really, really good sign, but this thing is exploding, so it's really good. So there are some good things happening in the garden. I know I kind of made it sound doom and gloom beforehand. It's just that everything is really kicking into gear late, but it is kicking into gear. So we should still be able to get a really, really good harvest out of this garden.
Okay, found some beans while we were walking the spiral. So next we are going to go ahead and head to my favorite part of the garden, my chair. Get through these zinnias first. But so this is where I found those tomatoes that were beautiful and large and definitely invaded by a tomato fruitworm. And several of the tomatoes. But look at how lush this area is. This is definitely by far the most successful part of the garden. Everything just seems to be growing really well here. The tomatoes are beautiful and the plants are doing really well. Behind the tomatoes, we also have some okra that I wanted to show you guys. Like I said, the tomatoes here are very, very vigorous. We have to get the tomato out of the way. But right here we have several okra plants we planted back here. They're the would-be white okra, so they get very, very big. Last week, actually, they were about half this size. So they've really shot up this past week with all of the rain and the warm temperatures.
All right, the last stop we're gonna make as we get into the very back depths of the spiral is our banana plant. We haven't really shown you guys that. It's not really doing much. It's still getting established, still maturing as a plant. So it hasn't even bloomed for us yet, but that's okay because I think it's still beautiful. I mean, these leaves, look at this. They're massive. But the tree is doing really good. We did lose the main part of this whole tree in, I guess it was this winter. It rotted out, did not come back. But thankfully it had put off a lot of pups. That's what all these guys are. And I'm hoping that if we can get these through the next 2 winters, which we should be able to, normally it's not a problem to get them through the winters. They just die back and come back. Then the base of them will be mature enough to put off enough energy to produce bananas for us. This is a hardy banana, and so basically that means it blooms earlier and the fruit will ripen faster. And so they should, in theory, be able to produce for us here in our zone 8. So that's all that we have for the garden section. So let's go do highs and lows. Before we do highs and lows, we have a birthday on the homestead.
Oh my gosh.
Cue the music. Y'all know you love that music just as much as Cass does. All right, since you're rolling your eyes at me, you get to go first. Highs and lows.
Listen.
But let's switch it up and let's do highs and lows in the garden.
Okay.
Like up to this point in the year. Because we're kind of, guys, like for South Carolina, we're about at the midway point for the summer garden. And so, like, I mean, this is kind of when stuff does start to peter out from the heat. You start to get your second plantings in. And also, pretty soon we'll be starting fall plantings, like starting from seed.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good time to kind of do just a high and low for the garden.
Well, my high would definitely be all the cucumbers we've been able to get. We had a horrible harvest of cucumbers last year, so we were not able.
I think we got 2.
Yeah, it was pretty
Maybe
pathetic.
3, 4, I don't know.
So we definitely used all of our canned pickles and relish and all that, and our kids love having access to that, and I don't really buy it. So once it's gone, it's gone. And thankfully we have had so much that we were able to replenish. Jeremy has been making refrigerator pickles, which they love, and I've just been snacking on them, which is great. My low in the garden would definitely be the tomato situation. You know, we like to have tomatoes for tomato sandwiches. I think we've had 1 tomato sandwich.
Yeah.
And we like to have a lot that we freeze dry for various things, and we like to have a lot to freeze for chili and pasta sauce and all of that. So the fact that we haven't brought in a lot of harvest yet makes me nervous. However, the plus side is, as I walk through this garden, there are a lot of green tomatoes.
There are.
So I'm hoping if we can get on this tomato fruit worm thing, that we'll have enough that we can put some away and have some meals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been, I mean, I did notice, like, as we were walking through the garden, I was like, okay, so there's more tomatoes than I realized. It's just that, like, yeah, we're way behind. But that doesn't mean that we won't end up having a good crop. So there's still hope.
Right.
So my high in the garden would be, I mean, the cucumbers are pretty good too. But I'm going to say, I think so far, probably the squash. Because that's another thing that compared to years past, we've had a lot of success with this year.
Yes.
And we've gotten very good crop off of those. And the new plants are coming along really great too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just that much more. So that'll be really good. I mean, we have found, we have learned, we've been gardening long enough to know, like, when you have a bumper crop year, you put it away.
You put it away. Yep.
Because, like the cucumbers last year, you just never know when you may have a really bad year with something. So that's why I'm excited about that. My low actually didn't even make it in this video because there's not that much to show, would be the sweet potatoes. I mean, we do have several plants, but compared to the amount that we planted, I mean, we did not have a lot of success with those. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was the Xenia situation or what, but the vines that are there are coming along really good. But just percentage wise, it's not a good success rate with what we planted. I'm going to put that totally on us. I'm not putting it on the company at all. But just that's my low because I was really looking forward to having a lot more sweet potatoes this year. We're actually not going to have a lot, but that's okay. It's just one of those years where we just don't have a lot of sweet potatoes this year.
Right. So thank you guys for hanging out in our garden with us today. I hope that you guys are having some more success with your tomatoes than we have had with ours. But as always, y'all have a great week and be blessed.